Bitcoin expert. So you can also find him on YouTube as Tone Vays. That is his name. And Tone, so tell us first, who are you? And then let's talk about Bitcoin.
Hi, no, thank you for having me on. It's great to be here. And yes, I was an analyst at JP Morgan and Bear Stearns before that, a few other companies. Now, coming in from Wall Street side to this decentralized currency that's supposed to be anti-banks, that's supposed to be a little bit anti-government, it's not like a good thing on my resume because people generally don't like guys like me in this space. But yes, you can find me on YouTube. I have my own YouTube channel. I used to write articles, not as much anymore. I'm very active on Twitter as Tone Vays, and my website, libertylifetrail.com.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. And since we talk about Wall Street, now let's talk about Bitcoin. Two different things, right?
Well, as far as Bitcoin, yes. Well, sort of two different things. It's what people don't realize about Wall Street, as much as Wall Street is hated by the average person, the people that are working on Wall Street, they're very, very smart. Like I most of my time was spent working with PhDs, physics PhDs, finance PhDs. If they weren't PhDs, most had master degrees. So these are very, very smart people. And yes, sometimes you get into groupthink and you end up with the real estate crisis. But in general, these are very, very smart people. And crypto caught everybody by surprise. Like Bitcoin caught a lot of people by surprise. The way I like to describe it is, it's just a new asset. It's something new. People for a long time were trying to solve a computer problem, and many average computer users don't realize what the problem even was. And the problem is, how do you send something digitally and lose possession of that digital message? We're not used to that. You're sending emails, you're sending your pictures, we're making videos, but whenever you're sending it to someone else, you're never losing possession of that digital message.
Yes.
This was the problem that Satoshi Nakamoto solved by creating this proof of work mining system that validates transactions. And when you send a Bitcoin as a digital message, you actually lose possession of that digital message. So by default, it had this scarcity, which gave it value. So Bitcoin itself became money or cash on the internet.
But you mentioned something. You say Satoshi Nakahu?
Satoshi Nakamoto, it's a pseudonym name. It's not a real name. No one knows who the creator of Bitcoin was, or even if it was one person or a group of people, because they knew what they were building was going to be revolutionary and potentially dangerous for them, because they gave people a way to pay each other over the internet without the control or oversight of any government entity. And those that were creating it knew that this was going to be very, very controversial. Oh. And they or him stayed anonymous, and after about 2 to 3 years, completely left the project and have not been heard of from since.
Oh, okay. So can you explain to us more about, I caught you when you were talking about Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin for the people that actually do not know what Bitcoin is?
Sure. It's just a way, well, it's being used as a currency right now, mostly. It's being used as a currency, and it's being used as a store of value, because there can only be 21 million Bitcoins. At the moment, each Bitcoin is very expensive, but you don't have to buy an entire Bitcoin. You can buy Bitcoins in fractions. So you can send another person anywhere in the world, let's say $5 worth of Bitcoin, and it's going to get to them. They're going to be notified within a few seconds that they are receiving Bitcoin. They should be able to respend that Bitcoin under normal internet traffic conditions. Within, 10 to 30 minutes, they will be able to respend it. And And it's going to cost them, again, depending on network and traffic conditions, it's going to cost them a little bit of a fee to send that value. Now, this fee fluctuates. Sometimes it's a little higher, sometimes it's fairly cheap. And the higher the fee that you make on sending the transactions, the faster it will get confirmed by this decentralized network, and the faster you can respend it. And many very smart programmers are working on faster and cheaper ways for people to get the Bitcoin and reuse it. But this fee can range from 5-10 cents up to a few dollars. But the beauty of it is, if you're sending a large transaction, you don't have the options. Like if someone is sending $100,000 worth of Bitcoin, it's only going to cost them a few dollars, and the person on the other end can just respend it within 10 to 20 minutes.
Thank you for that. And I keep hearing the word decentralized. Decentralized. What does it really mean that Bitcoin is decentralized?
So decentralized means that there isn't a single entity that's a point of failure. The most common form of decentralized network that we have before Bitcoin was file sharing. File sharing initially started with websites like Napster, and then we all had Kazaa and LimeWire, and then some of the other ones, those that remember the turn of the century, and everyone was downloading MP3s. Now, we all learned that Napster can go down because it's one person running a single website. Now, these other websites were a little harder to take down because they weren't American websites. But when BitTorrent came out, it became very, very difficult to stop file sharing. You can't really stop file sharing with BitTorrent, and that's a decentralized network of file sharing. So Bitcoin is similar. There isn't a single person, there isn't a single office where any government entity can just show up with guns and shut it down. And that's why Bitcoin has been this resilient form of value transfer around the world. And no matter how much governments or institutions or big corporations don't like it, there's nothing they can do to stop it.
So you said that Bitcoin is like file sharing. So that means that when I'm sending someone a file, they can steal my Bitcoins when I'm sending it to them?
No. File sharing was just an example of a decentralized system. Okay. Bitcoin is a decentralized system, but it has absolutely nothing to do with file sharing.
Okay. So how does it work? If I have my Bitcoin, how do I buy it? Where do I keep it? How does that work?
Sure. In order for you to buy it, you would have to either buy it from a person that has Bitcoin, or you can buy it from what we refer to as Bitcoin banks, which is like a legal company that you have to register with. You will probably connect your bank account to it, and then you send them money and they send you Bitcoin. Now, I'm not a big fan of these companies because to me, Bitcoin was created as peer-to-peer digital money bypassing the banking system. So connecting your banking system to buy it is not the form of acquiring Bitcoin I like, because I want this to be the anti-government value transfer. Okay. And the best way to get it is to just work for it like you would any other currency. But it's difficult because people don't really want to give up their Bitcoin. Bitcoin is way more valuable to me than US dollars. So when I work as a consultant, I request payment in Bitcoin. And people that are paying me, even if they have Bitcoin, they're not all that happy about it because they have to give up their Bitcoin to pay me for my time. As far as storing it, you can, if it's a small amount of Bitcoin, you can store it on your cell phone. But like I said earlier, there is no entity in control of Bitcoin. So if you're storing Bitcoin on your cell phone, you need to back it up. There are ways to back it up. If you choose not to back it up, like your files in your computer, you create a backup and you protect your backup. If you have Bitcoin in your cell phone and you did not do any backups, and then you lose your cell phone, you will lose all of that Bitcoin, which is also another reason why you shouldn't have too much money in Bitcoin on your cell phone. It should be stored in more secure, more advanced means. But if you are going to get, let's say, $100 worth of Bitcoin, you can just create an app on your cell phone. There's definitely some are better than others. You create the app on your cell phone. You can put the cell phone up to the camera in our conversation. I will take out my cell phone and I will just scan a QR code in your cell phone and send it over to you. And this kind of transaction over Skype was shown in a movie called Magic Money. It's a documentary about Bitcoin. I strongly recommend it. It's on Amazon. Called Magic Money. I'm in that documentary. I was the guy on the other end of the Skype call, and we were just doing an example of how you can pay another person almost instantly, just over a Skype call by scanning their address on the other end of the camera.
Oh, so you said the name of the movie was what?
Magic Money.
Magic Money, and where we can find it?
On Amazon or Vimeo. Like if you Google Magic Money film, you will be able to see it in a lot of places. If you have Amazon Prime, it's free. If you have an Amazon Fire Stick or an Amazon Prime account, you can watch this awesome Bitcoin documentary for free.
Okay, thank you. So how many years ago, someone had told me about Bitcoin. Right? And then I try to go on the internet and try to figure out how I can do this Bitcoin. And when I got there, it was so complicated. I didn't do it. I dropped it. So,
I agree. No. I agree. It is a little bit complicated, but it's no more complicated than trying to do email in 1995. I remember when even later than that, like even in 97, 98, the first email I was using, I needed to use Unix commands in order to receive and send and read my email. I mean, I remember using email before there was webmail. And yes, new concepts can be complicated and challenging, but you just need to take your time. I remember the first time I Googled Bitcoin, it was also complicated. All that came up was how to mine Bitcoin, which still goes on today, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's very, very specialized. And that also turned me off. It was in 2013 when I Googled it again, and I discovered you can just meet people that have it and buy it. And then it's a matter of downloading the right app, which is a Bitcoin wallet, understanding how to use the app, and then meeting a person, giving them some money, and watching them transfer Bitcoin to your phone. The good thing is that once they send Bitcoin to your phone, it's pretty much you can't counterfeit it. Once your phone notifies you that you're getting Bitcoin, the chances of you getting scammed on that transaction are almost zero.
okay. So the process got a little easier now, or is there a way that someone that is a newbie can buy Bitcoin? How do they get?
Oh, it's a lot easier, and even Googling Bitcoin ATM machines, if you live in a major city, there is a very high chance that there is a Bitcoin ATM machine not far from you. Of course, the interest rate that you would pay on this Bitcoin or the spread on these ATM machines is pretty high. You might pay 5 or 10% over the price of Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is a scarce resource, and it has nothing but gone up in price. So, and even I like to buy my Bitcoin in cash, and I never mind paying 3 to 5% of a premium to buy my Bitcoin in cash, because that's the value of anonymity. That's the price that you have to pay to stay anonymous and not provide your ID. And in the future, this would be great when more companies are accepting Bitcoin as a payment over the internet. You would be able to pay for things without providing your identity. One of the biggest problems with credit cards is that they're not built for the internet. Every time you pay for something with a credit card online, you provide all your personal information, your name, your address, And from there, and your credit card number that could be reused if anyone else sees it, and then it's up to you to keep looking at your credit card bill. Paying for things online with Bitcoin removes all that. You're making a payment. It's like paying in cash. No personal information is sent with the payment other than your address if you need something shipped to your house. And this is one of the reasons why people give Bitcoin this bad stigma that, yes, in the beginning, lots of people were using Bitcoin to pay for their drugs, let's say, from home, because it became a lot safer for people to just, if they need to buy drugs, whether it's marijuana, whether it's something stronger, they can just do it from their living room and pay in something that the other side accepts that isn't a credit card, which nobody would accept as an online payment for something like that. And you avoid the risk of going into the street, into some bad neighborhood, and potentially buying a product that can kill you because you don't know what you're buying. But when it's online and the seller has a review system and other people are reviewing it like any Amazon or eBay product, it became very, very useful for people to use Bitcoin in this way. I'm not saying it's the best use of Bitcoin, but it is a use case that people can't turn a blind eye to. It did help Bitcoin become what it is today and be popular.
But there's another thing. We keep talking about Bitcoin, but now I am hearing things like Neo and Ethereum and Litecoin, and it's starting to get a little confusing for me because I thought it was only Bitcoin. But what we're going to do, I'm going to have you explain that when we get back.
Sounds good.
Aquí Sandra Graves, y oye, quería decirte que te conectes con En Vivo Live todos los martes aquí en YouTube. We are going to be here every Thursday at 7 p.m. with different guests, bringing you different information, con invitados especiales, con tu anfitriona, yo, Sandra Graves. No te olvides, subscribe, suscriba y comenta. The code is presented by En Vivo Associates, our affiliates, our sponsors, and of course, our guests. Our guests who present you with the tools that you need to identify the success you desire. If you would like to be a guest in this show, or if you have any comments or questions or any show idea for us, please send us an email to info@envivoassociates.com. Thank you for tuning in to The Code. Hello everyone, and welcome back to The Code. And today we are talking about Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. There is so much going on. And my name is Sandra Graves, and you are with The Code. Don't forget that we are here every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time when God allows. Also, we are here also on Tuesdays in Spanish, Central Standard Time. Remember that in the United States there is a change in time, so you always have to focus on the Central Standard Time or Texas time. Be specific. I get this confusion all the time with people. They always show up an hour earlier or an hour later or maybe 10 days later. Anyway, so today we're talking about Bitcoin. And before I went on the break, I was actually asking Tony Vays, which is our guest today. And actually, if you want to learn more about him, you can find him on YouTube. And also, this website is at the bottom of the screen. And that is www.libertylifetrail.com, so that you can find out more about him. And my question was about, we're talking about Bitcoin, but then there's such thing as Neo and Ethereum and a Litecoin or something like that. What is that all about? Is that Bitcoin 2, 3, 4?
The short answer is no.
Okay. Thank you.
But there is a longer answer. All of the things you named are a little bit different. Now, Bitcoin started out as a true science experiment. And for the first year of Bitcoin's existence, it did not actually have any real world value because people were still looking for applications to it and no one knew if it was going to survive. Now, once Bitcoin started becoming this significant player, not significant player, but once Bitcoin started becoming useful and valuable, I mean, for me, the first use case of Bitcoin was when WikiLeaks, I mean, you're familiar with WikiLeaks, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Right. So when WikiLeaks got cut off from all forms of funding, I mean, WikiLeaks was funded by donations, by Visa, MasterCard. People would just, donate through Visa, through MasterCard, through PayPal. And then the U.S. Financial markets cut off WikiLeaks, and WikiLeaks almost died. The only thing that saved WikiLeaks was the fact that they started accepting Bitcoin donations, and the U.S. government wasn't able to stop people donating WikiLeaks money in the form of Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. So once Bitcoin started to become valuable because it had all of these use cases as being this unstoppable value transfer, other people thought they can make a better Bitcoin. We can make it confirm faster. We can make a different, change a few parameters. And a few of those coins tried to mimic Bitcoin and have a copy of Bitcoin with a few slightly different features. And Litecoin is probably the most popular of the Bitcoin copycats. Now, at the time, Litecoin wasn't very useful. It came in useful in order to get some new features into Bitcoin one time. But it's really just a copycat of Bitcoin, and I don't think it's going to survive. But at least Litecoin was a science project as well, though not as unique as Bitcoin. And Litecoin was created fairly. Most of these other alternatives that are coming out, to me, it's just a couple of people that want to get rich. And they come up with a list of things that people want to hear. And then they create this coin, they print a bunch of it for themselves, and then they try to convince people that this is going to be the better Bitcoin and it's going to do all of these things. I put Neo and Ethereum in that boat. I have been very critical of Ethereum since the moment it came out. I have a podcast called Crypto Scam, and it's one of the podcasts on my YouTube channel. I only covered just a small part of Ethereum. It was going to be a 3 or 4 part series. I filmed part 1. I've been really busy to film parts 2 and 3 at the least. So I've always been skeptical of Ethereum. I'm not a fan of that project at all. And Neo is just a copy of Ethereum in my opinion. And Ethereum is the big fish that I'm going after and try to convince people that it's horrible technology. And it's a very controversial stance because some people seem to think that Ethereum will take over a Bitcoin, but I completely disagree.
So you said altcoin or something?
Altcoins, yeah, they're referred to by different names. In general, if it's not Bitcoin, it's generally referred to as an altcoin. There are more derogatory names that I tend to use sometimes, but we usually just call them altcoins.
What about cryptocurrency? Where did that come from?
Cryptocurrency is a more general term. So if it's not Bitcoin, it's an altcoin. But cryptocurrency is everything like Bitcoin and altcoins together. It's called cryptocurrency. But the definitions get tricky because there isn't an official definition. To me, a cryptocurrency simply means a digital value transfer with cryptography for security. But just because it's a cryptocurrency, it does not make it decentralized. So if the US government or any government wanted to remove cash from the ecosystem, like if the US government wanted to get rid of paper dollars, they would create something and call it a cryptocurrency, like the US dollar as a cryptocurrency. Now, that doesn't mean that it's decentralized like Bitcoin. It could be completely centralized, controlled by the Fed. And in fact, I can't wait till Europe and America and Australia and Canada eliminate paper dollars, because there will be a huge demand for Bitcoin, because it doesn't only fill the role of paper dollars, it takes them to the internet on top of in-person transactions.
Okay, so not all cryptocurrency are decentralized.
Not all, not all. When someone says cryptocurrency, they don't specify. To me, you can have a cryptocurrency that is centralized or decentralized. So you have to ask them specifically what they mean. But usually when you see the word cryptocurrency in the crypto space, it generally means decentralized, even though I don't believe most of these cryptocurrencies, these altcoins, I don't believe they are decentralized. They usually have like one or two programmers that are making all of the decisions. And if something was to happen to these programmers, or they decide to do something silly, then your entire project could just get destroyed.
So is it possible for a regular Joe to become a millionaire invested in Bitcoin? Because every time I look at a video online of somebody talking about Bitcoin, they started with 1,000 and they have 50,000. They started with this. I bite-sized Bitcoin Lamborghini guy. All of them have made a lot of money. Is it possible for people to get into Bitcoin and be able to make great amount of money, or is too late for newcomers?
It's not too late for newcomers, but just like with the dot-com bubble, 90% of the people, they will lose all of their money. Because it's a lot harder for Bitcoin to go up in value, because Bitcoin is already very valuable. Now, I still think that the upside for Bitcoin is very, very strong. Now, I don't know who will or won't become a millionaire. Nobody knows, but it would be a lot easier to become a millionaire buying a bunch of tokens of some of these altcoins, because they're way more speculative. But you need to make sure that you get out on top, because you have to understand, did you become a millionaire because you got lucky, or did you become a millionaire because you knew what you were doing? And 90% of these people are becoming millionaires by luck, but they think that it's skill. And in about 3 years, they'll probably be more broke than they were before they got in, just like with an average person that wins the lottery. I always hear the statistics. People that win the lottery is basically luck, and a lot of them don't know how to deal with money. And 10 to 15 years after people win the lottery, they usually end up with less money than they had before winning that lottery. I mean, yeah, they enjoyed the life for a few years, but it doesn't lead to any long-term happiness or any long-term advantages. So, yeah, people are becoming millionaires. I mean, if you're becoming a millionaire, if you just became a millionaire in a year because you got lucky and you're buying a Lambo, there's a problem there. And chances are you're going to be losing that Lambo to a repo man. I mean, that is just the way life works. I personally have not touched any of these altcoins. I have not touched any of these ICOs. I got into Bitcoin in 2013. I knew why I got into it. I've held on. I've already lost a lot of my Bitcoin due to bad investments and bad coin security and some of the other things. So there's lots of lessons to be learned there. But I stayed away from all of these altcoins. I consider 98 of them kind of scams. And this new stuff that's coming out, the ICOs that are built on top of Ethereum, I think is a complete disaster. So I don't touch any of that stuff. People around me make fun of me because they're making all this money. And I know that they don't deserve this money, and I know that they're going to lose this money because they just don't know what they're doing. They're getting lucky. So I strongly recommend people researching and understand what you're buying, why you're buying it. And if you don't trust it long term, if you don't have any trading experience, this is not a good idea. But if people do have trading experience and they want to be trading these altcoins to acquire more Bitcoin, I don't have a problem with that. I only have a problem with people trying to sell me or sell people that are new to this space, trying to sell them that Neo is the next Bitcoin and trying to get those people to invest in Neo, when in reality, I personally think it's way closer to a scam than an outright legit, like a purposeful scam, not even an accidental scam, than anything else.
Okay, so since we got to the end of the show, the whole point that I got from this is Bitcoin is decentralized, and before you get into anything, you got to inform yourself. It sounds like it's very volatile. There's a lot of risk that must be taken, and overall, you are responsible for your gains or your losses. So whenever you get in and you watch anybody's video and telling you what to buy, altcoin or Bitcoin, at the end, it is your responsibility. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. But this responsibility, there's a huge advantage there, because even though if you lose your Bitcoin, you just lost a lot of value and nobody can help you. Mm-hmm. But on the flip side, if you properly secure and store your Bitcoin, you have to realize that for the first time in human history, you can own something of value that no one else can confiscate from you, because you are the only one that would know the password in your head.
So,